Hi there, I'm Keith Cawley, and this is Thrive on the Road again from CES 2023. Our Bridgestone Americas podcast is in Las Vegas. We are talking to partners, industry leaders, and some of our teammates about the world of sustainable mobility that we are seeing here at the Consumer Electronics Show in 2023. And I am joined today by two of our Bridgestone teammates who are manning the booth here at CES. They are talking to all of our visitors coming by around one particular piece of the booth, which is our smart connected corner technology that we really haven't gotten into so far on the podcast before and would love to share. So I'll introduce you, but Kevin and Terence, thanks so much for taking the time to join us, guys.
Sure. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So want to make sure we get names and titles right. Kevin Scheifele, Strategic Innovation Design Lead based out of Akron, correct?
That's correct.
Excellent. And Terence Wei is the Senior Manager of Advanced Digital Solutions, also based in Akron, yeah?
Yep.
Awesome. I'm glad we could come to Vegas to get together, everybody, but it's nice. For our listeners at home, we'd love to start with just your career backgrounds and journeys so we understand the perspective, what you do in your role, and how you got there. So let's work farther away. Terence, start with you. What's your career path been?
Great. Thank you for inviting me, by the way.
Absolutely, man.
So I've worked for Bridgestone for 16 years now. I have a PhD in mechanical engineering.
I should have introduced you as doctor then. I apologize, doctor.
It's fine. So when I was hired in 16 years ago, Bridgestone was looking for a specialist in vehicle dynamics and specialized simulation methods, and that's what I did my PhD in. From there, I've had a variety of roles throughout research and advanced development. I've also worked in tire development, and that led me to my current role as the leader of Advanced Digital Solutions.
Excellent. Well, I will be sure to use the proper title here moving forward. Kevin, what about you? What's your timeline been like?
Well, I've been at Bridgestone for 15 years.
Okay.
And most of my time there has been spent in our design studio at the Americas Technology Center, where we develop the tread patterns and the sidewalls for all the tires we develop in North America. I'm an industrial designer. I have a Bachelor in Fine Arts in Industrial Design. But over the last couple of years, I've transitioned into a new role as Innovation Design Lead. Working in the organization, getting a chance to work with a lot of different groups working on new innovations as we expand into this sustainable solutions company, getting beyond tires into other technologies, products and services, helping those teams leverage design thinking, come up with new concepts and new storytelling methods to get our technology out there.
Yeah, for anybody who's maybe been by the ATC and been up to the design lab, there's a lot of the display concept tires, right, that Kevin and his team have put together for maybe shows or customers, OEs over the years, but just bringing that strategic, forward-thinking future design. And we've got a lot of that in the booth, right? That's what CES is all about. For those of you who are listening, we've got some information on the bridge. We also put out a press release in December trying to talk about what Bridgestone is bringing to CES. And there's multiple portions or setups in this booth around our manufacturing and material circularity and the sustainable aspects there, like Waiuli, and then into the tire recycling with LanzaTech. We've also got the mobility solutions aspect on the other side with Azuga and Webfleet Solutions and how it's all coming together in this concierge service network. But in the middle of that, right, we've got the connected corner. It's the front and center display as people walk by the corner intersection there. And this is bringing Firestone Airide, plug for new brand, by the way, air springs, together with connected Enlighten tire technology. So for our listeners, let's start with Kevin. If you could describe the visual of that booth and kind of how it would look, because we're a podcast as an audio medium for many, but what does the booth look like when somebody walks up to it, and what are all the pieces in there?
Yeah, so for this display, we wanted to create something to put it all in context. So we created kind of a generic electric vehicle chassis, and just the front two corners of it on a platform with a 12-foot high illuminated LED wall behind it for storytelling. So we have animations running on that, and we've also created a platform underneath the vehicle that we can put animations on to bring that road surface to life underneath the tires. What's interesting, we decided to remove the rims from the vehicle so that we could give people the opportunity to get up close to the tires and look inside the tire, where we're featuring kind of a glamorized version of a tire-mounted sensor.
It is the larger version of a sensor you could have.
Yes. We've enlarged it. We've put lights inside it, and it's really been effective for drawing people up to the display and getting them to pay attention to that feature and ask questions. Also, it allows better visibility of the air spring, which we've provided a concept model of the two air springs in the corner system, and we wanted people to really be able to see those, which are often buried up in the vehicle, and folks don't know what those look like. So we put lights in that also to bring sensing to life, and the data sensors that are inside the spring.
Yeah, and we should, they've got the nice Firestone logo on the top of those air springs that are visible, and we should make mention, right, I said a plug for the new brand. We just launched here at CES the announcement that Firestone Industrial Products will now be known as Firestone Airide. It's full new brand identity that obviously leans into one of its iconic products and patents that has been leading the industry for a number of years. So we've got Enlighten Bridgestone tires, we have Firestone Airide air springs. And Terence, what is the concept of what we're trying to deliver through this booth and what we call the connected corner, right?
Yeah, what we're trying to do is we're trying to show the new products and solutions that we're bringing to market specifically for electric and autonomous vehicles. So there's really four main elements there. There's premium tires for electric vehicles. That's number one. Number two is the connected tire. Number three is the connected air spring. And then number four is how all of those components work together as a system and inform predictive analytics. It's been really, really exciting, by the way. The display is fantastic with a 12-foot high, digital screen and the roadway underneath the vehicle model. There have been tons of people who have been walking down the aisles and they've just walked over because it looks like an exciting display and they want to hear more, even though they may not be working in the automotive industry.
Yeah.
It's just something really, really interesting, and they walk over to look at it. Similarly, the tires themselves are a concept tire, right? It's not a tread pattern that we sell into the market today. It's a concept tread pattern, but tons of people walk over and they say, wow, that's the craziest tread pattern I've ever seen. And the first thing they do is they want to touch the tire, right? I mean, people are really getting excited. And when we start describing the new technology, you can really see the light bulb come on for many people. The message is really resonating with people. So that's, of course, is exciting us. And it seems like it's exciting a lot of the people coming by to see our booth.
Yeah. And Kevin, you were here we were both here in 2020 for CES, but have been conceptually designing a lot of the elements of this booth. How has the connected corner taken shape in your mind? As it's very much something I think we've heard whispers about, and there's been projects pursuing it, but then you're the one who's kind of brought forward the actual tangible touch and feel display. How has that taken shape over the last couple of years, really?
Well, I mean, it's organically matured, I think, as an idea inside the company. And really most recently, just this past year with the announcement of Bridgestone Mobility Solutions and how Firestone Airide is now part of that group, that's really what generated the interest in putting it all together in context. And I think it helps people visualize all these technologies, being able to see them as they would be in a vehicle, rather than just talking about them as concepts. They can see visually the connection between the spring and the tire and the road surface and visualize it better. And we really wanted to have something people could engage with. Trying to create something that they understood what's happening under the fender and under the hood where you don't normally see these things.
Yeah, and when you talk about helping people understand it, Terence said not everybody who walks up here understands automotive, understands the space. Kevin mentioned most of these things you're seeing are hidden behind something else in most cases. What is the use case that you're explaining to people? I think we were just talking about it before, but how the tire, the sensors, the air spring, and everything works together in an EV world that's really turning a light on for people as they see it.
Yeah, so first of all, there's the element of the tires themselves for electric vehicles, right? And there's a couple of main elements there. One is that they're optimized for low noise because you no longer have the noise of the engine covering up the noise of the tire, so they have to be really quiet. Number two is that they have to have better wear performance because EVs typically wear tires faster than ICE vehicles because of the high torque and also because those vehicles are typically heavier than ICE vehicles, right, because of the large battery packs. And the third main element is the high strength materials in those tires because, again, EVs are typically heavier than an ICE vehicle, so you have to have high strength materials to be able to carry that load. So the tires are optimized for that application. And we typically describe a lot of the different use cases. So for instance, with electric vehicles, many electric vehicles have higher inflation pressures in the tire, and you go to a higher inflation pressure to reduce the rolling resistance and therefore get better EV battery range. But the higher inflation pressure makes the tire stiffer, which can negatively impact ride comfort. So what we've been describing to people is how the tire can be engineered together with the air spring, right? So that the air spring can compensate for the stiffer tire, right? So you can get the advantages of the higher inflation pressure in the tire without the negative impact of ride comfort.
Yeah, and I guess in my head, I have that curiosity of, we have what has been Firestone Industrial Products, now Firestone Airide. We have the tires that are made on the Bridgestone and Firestone side. Wouldn't we be naturally combining these two things together as an element of connectivity in the past and engineering together? But it's far more complex than that, right? I mean, you're dealing with original equipment manufacturers, you're dealing with they are different business units, different engineers and focuses. It's not as simple as, hey, shouldn't we have always been connected these things together? But it's an interesting, nice development to see it come together, is it not, Kevin?
Absolutely. I mean, the idea has been around a while because it's a good idea.
Right.
And it doesn't go away because it's a good idea. Just finding the right opportunities and the right timing, to find its way out into the market the way it should.
Yeah.
And I think electric vehicle platforms and all the challenges that Terence has been talking about in those platforms has really elevated the importance of bringing it together now.
Yeah, and I think obviously most of this booth is put together to bring the tangible world of what we've always been talking about the last couple of years, the Bridgestone 3.0 vision to life. Right? It's this move towards sustainable solutions, connectivity that is all feeding data to make these decisions. You said the sensors are a little bit glamorized. I think they're a little bit bigger than your thumb. They've got some blue lights around it. That's not what they would look like in a natural concept. But people are now realizing that we talk about sensors in tires. What is kind of from the connected corner that we have here, what is kind of the roadmap that we have for this moving forward? And I guess to either of you, not to put anybody on a spot, but in terms of how we think about it, we display it here. What does this journey look like to keep advancing it forward?
So the use case that we've really been describing is that most individual consumers or fleet managers, they don't understand when tires are going to be worn out or which tires are already worn out, when tires need to be maintained, rotated, replaced, et cetera, right? They have no idea. If you're talking about a fleet manager that has 500 vehicles, they don't have the time to go around and use a manual tread depth gauge on every single tire to figure out which ones are worn out or which ones are getting close to worn out. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to generate predictions, right, using predictive analytics to help either individual consumers or fleet managers know that your tires are going to be worn out in 2 weeks or 2 months, giving them a window of time to have those tires maintained or replaced, right? So, and what that allows them to do is replace those tires before they're worn out, right? So to maximize safety, but at the same time, allowing them to do it when it's convenient for them, right? Or in the case of a fleet manager, when that truck would already be, not used, right, when it's already going to be down. So that reduces things like on-road breakdowns, right, which are very, very expensive. It reduces unplanned maintenance and unplanned downtime, right? So obviously fleet managers want to avoid a situation where they have a surprise maintenance situation and that causes them to miss deliveries, right? So we want to help them understand when those things are going to come up ahead of time so they can plan for them proactively.
Yeah, it's uptime, efficiency, safety. There's a lot of E's that we could go with in the Bridgestone E8 commitment that are connected into this. So it is just an exciting thing to see come to tangible life as we get to see it here. We mentioned again that you both were at CES in 2020. Since then, we have an entire hall here in this West Hall of the Convention Center that is all just vehicle tech and mobility solutions, basically. I have to imagine it was not to this scale 2 years ago. And like, how different already in just your experience is CES in embracing, basically becoming like a digital auto show of sorts, right?
Yeah, it's absolutely an auto show now. And it's been fun to see the maturity of that. Originally it was a lot of conceptual vehicles, very future forward thinking things. But now we're looking at real automobiles sitting out here on the floor, and we're seeing brand new OEs showing up, making a presence, and everything looks very real now. So it's fun to see that happen. Those things aren't going away. They're only getting more and more real.
Yeah, and it's different industries too. We've got our partners from Caterpillar here with a giant mining, dump truck, giant mining truck. John Deere has one of their giant wide-armed, watering machines that go through all the fields that you can see while driving through, off the interstate. And then you've got OEs and emerging OEs everywhere, as well as the software companies behind it. So it is super complex. You had a chance to walk around, Terence. What has stood out to you? What caught your eye at CES 23?
Yeah, there's so much interesting stuff at the show these days, right? The scale of the show is unbelievable, right? Because there's 3 or 4 main halls at this location, and then there's 3 other locations to go and look at. So I mean, there's fantastic stuff. I mean, in mobility, you see all kinds of crazy concept vehicles, right? Stuff that's future looking. You have the Sony and Honda joint venture where they have screens on the outside of the vehicle displaying certain things. You have autonomous boats. You have robo taxis. You have flying vehicles. All kinds of different stuff to look at. And then outside of the transportation industry, you see all kinds of other stuff, right?
Yeah.
New laptops coming to market, new smartphones, new connected devices.
Any touch and feel for every corner of your home is represented here, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, this is really fantastic to see where technology is going. And of course, a lot of these technologies start out in other industries and then end up coming to automotive, right? So a lot of vehicles today are like smartphones on wheels, right?
Yeah.
So what we're starting to see in other industries with new features and new connectivity, that's going to come to automotive, right? So it's really exciting to see where the industry is going, for consumer electronics, for home electronics, et cetera, and that helps us come up with new ideas about, what people are going to be expecting from their cars in the future.
Yeah. Anything stood out to you, Kevin, that caught your eye, or was just kind of weird and wild as you walked around?
Well, what I'm always trying to pay attention to is how companies like us are telling their stories, how they're really engaging the audience here at CES. And, a couple of them have been great. Our partner at John Deere, our neighbor here on the show floor, they've just done an incredible job of engaging people in the technologies that are real today and coming up with some creative ways for us to see how technology is used in agriculture. So I'd like to, consider those ideas as we think about new ways to engage people with our technology.
Yeah, well, it's been great to experience the week here together and to kind of really talk to people coming by about the Bridgestone story as we've put it all together in the booth. For those who can't see us, we're in our matching uniforms. We've got our black slacks, polos, and vests on, bringing the Bridgestone vision to life in multiple kinds of ways together. But Kevin and Terence, thank you guys so much for taking the time to join us, for being out here at CES representing Bridgestone and really bringing that story forward to the external consumers and world here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Got it. Yeah, and of course, thank you for listening at home. Reminder that you can follow us along on YouTube, watch videos of any of our podcast conversations on the Bridgestone America's YouTube page. And of course, if you want to listen to podcasts from Thrive, you can find us on any of your podcast platforms, whichever one of your choice. Just search for Thrive Bridgestone and take a listen. We, of course, will also take your thoughts, comments, questions, topic ideas via email. You can drop us a note at thrivepodcast@bfusa.com. We're in Las Vegas at CES 2023, but we still remind you to keep on keeping on, and remember that at Bridgestone, today, tomorrow, together, we thrive. Thanks for listening, and be good, everybody.